Hi, I'm Jim,
And I'm Audrey,
and we both love wine,
but we have some different views.
which is why this series is called His
And hers.
Wine. So we had a kind of a cold day today. You can see I'm wearing a
was a little
sweater,
chilly.
a little chilly. And so we got some nice, rich, warm comfort food. We got some Indian food.
It's a great excuse to have some great food.
Right, which brings up a bit of a debate though.
I wanted to have wine with our food. Okay, so it is Indian food, which is sometimes difficult to pair or get the right wine with. So we started talking about that.
Right, and I said it's difficult to pair with because it doesn't really go with wine. That Indian cuisine is a cultural tradition that for thousands of years developed independent of wine, and wine doesn't need to be forced upon it.
Okay, well, I don't want to force anything. No one should be forced, but I like to have wine with my food. It just elevates the meal to me. It makes it special, more of an occasion. I like that.
All right, well, so we decided that we were up to the challenge. Can we pair
It's
wine?
a challenge. I had to twist his arm really hard.
Right. Now, a couple of caveats here,
Yes.
because what we are eating tonight and pairing with the wine is, we call it Indian food. But India is a vast country with many different cultures, many subregions.
So to be clear, I wasn't trying to cook the Indian food because that was not going to be the correct matching that would happen either.
No, and what we did is we ordered takeaway, but we ordered takeaway from in very very much an Americanized style of Indian food.
We did, yes.
But it's the type of Indian food that I think most Americans can get at an Indian food restaurant. So we
Yeah.
got representative meals.
We went with more of the popular bestsellers and the more popular things that people would order. Again, like he's saying, to kind of get the basic same thing that most people are familiar with. So that's what we did.
And we wanted to have to make the challenge somewhat, I wouldn't say scientific, but orderly.
Yeah,
we
we're not
got
scientific.
we got a dish that is very rich and earthy. We got one that is sweet with a lot of flavor, and then we got one that is fire spice.
No, we kind of thought that a little bit more after the fact. We really just went with what was, the
What we
go-to
wanted to
things,
eat, right?
what we wanted to eat. And so, and he's categorizing the way he tastes it, and that's fine. I did line them up though, because like we were talking about, there's a lot of spices in the Indian food. That's what makes it taste so wonderful, but it does vary. So not all of them are heat spices. Some of them, as he's saying, he's getting more of the earthy qualities. And so we have them where that heat is at the end, which is just like when you were tasting wines and you start with whites and you go up, same idea.
So our meal choices are,
This is a chicken sob. Delicious.
so it's a chicken sag,
Yes.
okay, and then we have a,
Chicken tikka masala,
right, and then a lamb
vindaloo.
hot and spicy.
Hot and spicy for sure. So the approach to this was, we really had to talk about, if we're pairing this, we're going to go with our guts on what we think should be. But we did listen to those standard rules, which we've talked about before. There are some basic suggestions and ideas, and everybody can experiment and see what they think. But those basics that we were going with are, your wine should be sweeter than your food.
Right.
Your wine should be more acidic than your food. You can do a contrast, or you can do a comparison flavors. Those work in varying ways. So we kind of went with that. We didn't try to say only whites or only reds. That was not in our equation.
No, we have both whites and reds here, and we have a number of different ones. So, so let's start then with least fire, the chicken sag.
Yes.
And that's the rich, earthy, flavorful dish. So we're going to each take a
Yes.
bite, and
We're
then
gonna
which
take
wine are we going to
bites.
pair with it first? Are we going to
Okay.
do all four of them?
We're going to do all four of them. So we'll go through it as we go. So
All right.
let's take a
I'll let you
little,
lead me through this.
well, let's take a little taste of this and see.
All right, let's do that.
I don't know, if we make a mistake, we'll have to taste it again.
That's good.
So good.
That's so good. All right. So,
Just like my new favorite.
so what do we have with that? So we have, which end are we starting with?
Okay. So we're starting with the lightest white, and this is a Riesling. So it's got a little bit of sweetness.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Cheers
So
to
we'll try.
that.
Cheers to that. That does actually go. That
does
does
actually
sweet
go.
with the earthy. Actually, I was not expecting it to go that way.
I was waiting for that sweet to go with the heat because that's the natural. Is sweet beats the heat. It goes wonderfully with that one. Okay, the next one is our Portuguese white.
Right. This is our Quinta de Casaboa. This is
Yep.
one that we import, and it's a sort of a crisp. How would you describe this? Fresh, light flavor.
Yeah, it's going to be
But
a
not
white
sweet.
white blend. It's not sweet. It's not dry per se, but it has some really good acidity and some citrus notes to it.
All right, so let's give that a try.
Okay. Okay, that is different.
It is very different.
It is very
I
different.
don't know that it goes with that dish.
I'm
I
thinking
would
that
say
the
the Riesling was
earthiness
better.
against the citrus is not the best way to go, but
No.
the Riesling did work. Okay.
Riesling worked. All right.
Let's give the reds a little bit of a try to see
Right.
if the
I'm gonna
reds
need
go with
another
this.
bite. Just I'm just gonna have to have a little bite.
I know. Oh, the suffering we have to do.
Mm.
So good.
All right.
Okay.
So what is our first red?
Okay, so the first red that we're going to have is Beaujolais.
Now, why did you choose Beaujolais?
So Beaujolais is going to be, I was looking for those red, bright fruit flavors. So this is a Beaujolais Villages, and should have some of those more cherry type notes, maybe a little bit of raspberry, but also is not a full-bodied wine.
Okay, let's give that a sip.
I rather like that.
Because I thought maybe the wine might be a little bit heavy for that dish, even though it's a light-bodied red. I think the wine overpowers that, in my opinion.
Okay. I rather liked that one.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one here, we did our Portuguese red. Now I know you were choosing the Portuguese for a good particular reason here.
Well, and the reason for that is that, and it'll become more apparent, I think, when we get to the spicier dish. But the Portuguese did a lot of trading with the Indian subcontinent and introduced a lot of their culture, got mixed with Indian culture. And for example, Vindaloo, which we're going to try in a little bit, is a Portuguese dish.
So the Vindaloo specifically was a Portuguese dish.
That's a Portuguese dish.
All right.
So I was thinking that perhaps with the Indian food, the Portuguese wines might go very well. So let's give that a try.
Let's give it a try. All right.
Now that I like. I think that's got the better flavor
That is
profile.
so interesting, I will tell you. We're going to go through the other dishes, but this is not, it's not the bright red fruit. It's got a little bit of red fruits, but it's a deeper, darker kind of wine, yet it's not tannic.
No, it's not tannic, and I think it went very well with that earthy flavor.
I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with that.
All right.
Okay, so we ready to try the second dish? All right, what do we have next?
So next we have the chicken tikka masala.
It's like it's all good. So I'm
It's
so
all good.
happy.
Now, to me, I tasted a little bit of sweetness in this particular dish, just a hint of sweetness on that.
It's got really good creamy notes too, and
Very
creamy
creamy.
notes, you can try to match bodies of wine of something more creamy. Most people would go to a Chardonnay to do that, but you don't want that oakiness in there. I think we still want the acidity, so I'm happy with what we're working
Right. I
with.
think if you went to an oaked white wine, that vanilla oakiness is going to
the oak
clash
would, the oak
badly.
would clash. It would not go well.
All right, so let's see how our wines
Okay.
pair with this. Okay, I'm good with that too. That's okay. Stop. We got
Okay.
to do some wine now. All right. So we're doing the Riesling first.
Riesling first.
Well, that goes again.
It goes again.
That really does go again. I think what it is the sweetness. It's just going with the richness. The sweetness and the richness are just
Well,
going together.
you've got all things there with the Riesling because you've got the acidity that's going to cut in with the creaminess or an oiliness. It's going to cut with that, and it is sweeter than what we're tasting. So it's just really going well.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna have to get another bite.
I know. Oh, the suffering we must do, right? Okay, so get a little of that. All right.
Yes, the second one.
Mm-hmm.
This is our Portuguese white.
Right.
That one goes better.
It did better with that. It's just not beating the Riesling, which is interesting.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
So this was okay. The citrus notes and the acidity in the Portuguese white Actually, they usually pair these with seafoods. Mm-hmm. But even though it has the citrus notes, I think it went okay because of the sweetness and the creaminess. I think it went okay.
Really? Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And again, all of these things, you just got to experiment.
All right,
It's a tough job. You got to do it.
Let's experiment
All
with some red here with the
Okay.
tikka masala.
A little bit more flavor here. All right.
So our first red is the Beaujolais. Beaujolais. I still think that's overpowering.
I don't feel it's overpowering. That's not it. And of course, I'm thinking the weight or whatever. I don't think that it has the sweetness level that I want necessarily, because this is where I do pick up that it's not sweeter than that. I did not think the tikka masala was sweet. Jim gets that sweetness. I didn't think so until I had this against it.
And then you had the contrast.
I felt like it was not sweet enough. The acidity is still great.
Yeah, the acidity level is perfect. All right, so let's, again, a little bite, just because we have to have another bite.
Because we have to.
Because we have to. And now that Portuguese red.
All right.
On that one, I think it's just okay. I think it went really well with the earthy chicken sag, not as well with the tikka masala.
If you want a red to go with it, it will work. And the other one that Pinot Noir is a little bit in between the two of them, but I feel like the Pinot Noir would have the same problem, honestly, as the Beaujolais, that it would not be sweet enough. And there is something here that is countering that, because this is not a sweet wine.
And it's not a tannic wine, because a tannic wine would definitely clash.
This is very different. It's not sweet. It's not tannic. You're right. Tannic would definitely clash. But it is still working okay.
It's working okay. Not as well as it works. I thought it worked really well with the chicken sag.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right. So the last one we have, ready for some fire?
I might have to have some water and kind of...
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back.
Okay, we're ready for the Vindaloo.
Ready for the Vindaloo. Now this is hot and spicy.
This is going to be some heat.
Now
so
I love a good spicy Vindaloo. I do. I will eat this all night long.
This is the one that I would say, okay, we can have water with this one. I would be okay because he can tolerate a lot more of the heat than I can.
I love this. All right, ready?
Yep.
Okay. Now, not only is it spicy, but it's in a tomato-based sauce. So I don't know how either of the whites are going to do with it, but we'll give it a try. Okay? So the Riesling first. Nope, not loving that. Nope.
It does not clash.
It doesn't clash.
You can drink it with it. You're not getting as much from the Riesling, which a perfect pairing to me should elevate both of them.
No, it seems like they're competing a little bit. The Riesling has the sweet, and that rule, the sweet beats the heat. So it doesn't. It's okay. They're not clashing, but I don't think it stands up to I think the Vindaloo is just too powerful.
Okay, now that you've spoken for a little bit, take another sip of that Riesling.
Okay. It's a little better.
It's a little better. So if you're drinking it exactly with that bite of food, it's not working as well as it should be, but it is refreshing. The acidity is holding up to that and refreshing your palate a bit, and the sweetness relieves a little bit of that heat. So for me, since heat is not my game, this one does help.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's put the Riesling down. Another bite here because we got to go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, man. More heat, huh?
More heat. Got to go for this.
Okay.
For the next one is the Portuguese white.
Okay.
Love that.
I'm going to let it relax in my mouth a little bit because I think I did. That's more important for me. Okay.
All right, ready?
Okay, the citrus against that gave more of a sour note to me.
Yeah.
The citrus, I'm getting it. I'm really getting it, but it's a little bit sour.
I think that's a true clash. I think that's the sourness against the heat. I just don't think that works.
all that citrus is being brought front. So I'm getting lemon and citrus, and which is great, but not with the heat. There.
Not with the heat, not with a rich tomato base.
No,
that is definitely a seafood wine.
Yep, that one didn't work.
What?
But again, you just got to experiment with these things and see.
Because gotta try. So this is, we're gonna try Beaujolais.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, Beaujolais.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of fun, actually.
That is kind of fun. I will say there is a little bit of sourness going on. I do think the spice turns that Beaujolais a little bit sour. There's a little sour hint there.
That's kind of fun.
That's kind of fun. That one is okay. That one's okay.
I actually, and somebody else might say, oh, this is fantastic, because I actually do like that a bit.
Now this next one should be a home run. This is the Portuguese wine, Portuguese red, with the Portuguese inspired dish. So this I've got big expectations here.
All right.
All right.
Well, big expectations. That means it has a lot to live up to.
All right.
Well, I'm working on it. You might have to talk the rest. My voice will go from the heat.
Your throat closes up, your eyes sweat.
My eyes are shut.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not.
All right. So this is Portuguese red.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's nice.
That's fun. Yep.
That one goes. That one.
Whereas the Beaujolais was kind of fun and interesting because it's like, a little different. This actually works.
This works.
This really works. And I was really skeptical of that because all my rules, the sweet, the Riesling works. Absolutely.
All right. So if we're not choosing these exact wines for the reds, then we're looking for something that's not very tannic.
Yes.
But that is rich and fruity.
Yes, and the red fruit is kind of a good thing to toy with there, and we just found that not all of the red fruit kind of works. So it is an experiment process that you have to do.
And I would think a lot of the, so if you look on the label or you look at a review and it describes the red fruit as raspberries or blackberries, that's, I think, going to be tart and sour, and that's not going to work with the Indian food.
It's the cherry kind of notes are more what's likely to work with it. And like we said, the Touriga Nacional is just not very tannic.
Right.
So you want to stay away from tannins. If you're looking for a red wine that's a little bit more sweet, maybe one of the red blends that you could try might work, but you need to have something that's low in tannin. So not Cabernet based, that's going to be higher in tannin.
Right, not a Merlot.
Right, and the sweetness level, let's talk about the whites a little bit because the Riesling was a clear winner. And what other white?
So if you're looking for something that's got that sweetness to it and that sharpness and brightness to it, Riesling, obviously, Gewürztraminer is a good one. And we didn't try it. I would be interested if perhaps a late harvest white or maybe even an ice wine might be too sweet or it might work very well.
Because you do want to have that sweetness level. If you're curious, because there's Rieslings that are dry also. I definitely had a sweet Riesling here, normal, more sweet Riesling. When you're looking at the alcohol content, that's going to give you an indication. So if you have 13%, that's kind of a little dividing line. You want to be below that to get that sweet taste in there. So 10%, 10.5, those are great. It's going to give you that little bit of sweetness that you want. But if you're over 13, you're talking about a dry wine.
Right. And I think those are, if you look in those categories, I think they will actually match up to the Indian food. Now, we have a little bit of a secret weapon. So let's break out our secret weapon.
James Bond music, secret weapon.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and now for the secret weapon, we've got some bubbly. We've got some pink bubbly. In fact, it's sweet pink bubbly.
This is not our normal to have sweet. We typically get the brut, which is what a lot of people, I think, more so get.
Right, but we needed something sweet, something acidic, and something sort of fun. And I think a lot of people overlook sparkling wines as food pairing because sparkling wine is wonderful. Usually people have just a glass when they get some good news, somebody's gotten engaged or they're having a baby, and say break out a glass, and that's it.
It's actually a great pairing option. It pairs with a lot of things that people don't consider and don't think about. It's a palate cleanser. A lot of appetizers will work with that. It doesn't have to only be at the celebration on its own.
That's right. You can put that on the table and have it with dinner. I mean, it's a great thing. So in this case, we got something really fun. It's a pink, sweet, bubbly.
It's a total experiment for us, so we're having fun.
So let's do that. Let's get a bite of each.
Let me see what it is we've got here, so we can talk just briefly. So this is the Veuve de Vernay. It's an ice rosé. So the ice rosé, this one is a demi-sec, so it is definitely a sweet sparkling. And it has, what else was I going to say about that? Oh, the ice part, the ice rosé. What the intent when they say to do that is to have it over ice. You can have it over ice, and some people would have it served with like frozen berries or something in there as a celebration thing. Jim and I chose not to put the ice in it.
Because we're grown-ups.
But it does have the sweetness there. So let's see how we do.
All right, we're going to try first with the nice
sog?
the chicken sog, nice deep rich chicken
Oh,
sog.
that herbal stuff.
It's so good. Did not get any worse.
Still my new favorite.
All right, and with some pink bubbly. Okay, that's fun. That's fun. That's fun. I wouldn't have chosen it normally, but that is
I'm sorry to giggle, but it is surprising. And like I said, we don't typically like a sweet bubbly.
Okay, now I don't know when last time you had dinner that made you giggle, but if you've got if your dinner companion is giggling, that's a good thing.
Hey,
That's a good
okay.
thing.
Now I'm excited to try
Let's
with the
dive
next
it
one.
with the tiki masala.
You had a really good idea here.
I know.
I mean,
All right.
that's good too.
It goes with that too.
Wow.
And that may even be better. That does really good.
I think that goes really well. But remember how we said that this one actually, the other wine that
We'll try
turned
that
out to
again to
not
make
be
sure.
sweet enough. It turned out to be not sweet enough. That this one does have a little bit of a sweetness on there. Jim was right about that, and I could feel it picked up. But this, having that good sweetness, being the demi-sec, works really well.
That works really well.
All
What's
right,
fun?
it's going to be a big contest though to get that heat.
All right. So I'll try this. Ready?
Oh, I'm going to go in there with you.
All right.
Okay. Okay, let that heat kind of sit.
Let the heat build up. That's
See
good
my
too.
eyes water. Okay, good.
I love that. All right.
It's actually a great amount of heat, really.
It goes not so much.
It goes. It doesn't elevate as much as the other two did.
That's true.
The other two have lots of spices and things going on, and people struggle with trying to pair things with that. There's creaminess, there's sweetness, then the other one has a lot of earthiness. The sog has more of those earthy kind of spices to it, and it elevates everything for those two. I felt like it doesn't clash with the heat.
Doesn't clash. It's just not. It's not right.
It doesn't elevate. It doesn't do that nice pairing that we like to have.
So our conclusion is, if
Yes.
you're going to get something that is fiery hot from your Indian restaurant that's tomato based, then or perhaps a red curry, the recommendation is going to be a non-tannic, berry fruit forward red wine.
And the Portuguese just happens to fit that exactly. I really do have a hard time of finding something that meets it in the same way that red does.
That Portuguese red,
It
really
just,
will.
It's different than anything else I've tasted state-wise.
Now, when you take the tomatoes out and you make that flavor either a little bit sweet and spicy or just earthy, rich, and full, the sweet wines are going to go, and that Riesling went very well.
The Riesling was wonderful with everything, but I thought it elevated with the herbiness here on the sog, and it also did great with the tikka masala.
But for the wow factor, that silly pink demi-sec
This is so fun.
that's so much fun. Again, if it induces giggles, that's a good thing,
How can you be wrong?
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I still think you can eat Indian food and you don't need to have wine with it. But
you don't need to, but
but if you're going to have wine, think about it in the same way you would approach any other challenge, and that's with
right.
meeting the components of the food and the elements with the elements of the wine and how those fit together, and you can come up with some great pairings.
And go in and experiment.
Yep.
All right. So
Absolutely.
cheers.
Cheers. It's fun.
And just remember, no matter what your view, just enjoy. Like I am.